And good evening. We are live. This is Michael from the Easy Path Project. And tonight we are going to be talking about why you argue against success instead of enjoying it. Are you frustrated with your dating results right now? Could changing your perspective even slightly unlock new relationship opportunities? And why listening to advice feels like an attack. The name of this show tonight is Why Pushback. This was a totally spontaneous, totally unplanned show tonight. Last night, on my 18th live stream, I finally had somebody who stopped lurking and who said, "Hello, Jack." And it was nice chatting with him. But at one point, he made a comment about, I don't mean to push back. And then he was sitting there um, telling me all these different reasons why he had not had very good luck with women and why he did not expect to. And I thought that was really odd uh, because I'm not used to guys, uh, um, telling me what they can't do. I mean, when they pay me to help them, they usually are quiet and listen and apply what I say, and hopefully it's either going to be fast or even faster. They're going to start seeing results because this stuff isn't a joke. I mean, it's all real. We'll explain a little bit later exactly what I'm talking about and why. But so it really kind of blew me away to think that somebody would come on here. They've got problems with their dating life. They're trying to find out, and then the guy who is pretty pleased with his dating life and success he's had in the past, and so he's willing to share that information freely online on YouTube. Yeah, it was really funny. Anyway, like I said, I enjoyed the conversation with Jack last night. I mean, it really kind of had me on my toes having to sit there and defend some of the things that I talk about here. But we're going to talk about reasons why somebody might push back. I'm sitting here giving you like gold nuggets, and you're like, no, thank you. And it's like, why would you do that? And if you've listened to any of my other live streams, the idea is that you've got things that you picked up along the way that are holding you back. And if you're going to sit there and try to hold on to these things that are holding you back instead of, swiping them away with a cosmic broom or whatever, getting rid of these bad things that are holding you back. Anyway, and that's what we're talking about here. And like I said, I guarantee that if you apply these things, your life is going to get better. There is no way it can't. And I'll explain that very clearly once we get to that slide. Anyway, but before we get started, like I said, I do live streams each night from 7:30 Monday through Friday. And I'm here to chat. Hopefully, we'll talk about some really cool stuff that really does help you improve your life. And, because having good relationships, whether it be with girls or with your friends or family or coworkers or whomever, like all of these things that we talk about here are applicable in those situations as well. So, you get a lot of benefit from not a lot of work. Like I said, this is the Easy Path Project. We do things easily, we do them comfortably, we do them simply. We don't have time for having to draw on, motivation or determination or dedication or grinding or any of that crap. This is just the easy way to get the life you want. Anyway, and uh, if you don't get a chance to catch the live streams each night at 7:30, I also have put a link in the description to the playlist, so you can go back and see what I've said in the other live streams. You can catch up and start applying some of this stuff and really start to see your life get better. Okay, so like I said, this is kind of in response to last night, but like I was thinking, why would men fight back? Like, I'm sitting here saying that there are very easy things that you can do to improve your life, and all you got to do is just listen and then apply. Or well, listen, evaluate your situation, and then apply. I mean, it's that easy, right? Anyway, so I've got a list here of reasons that a guy might push back on me. Um, Frustration at past efforts failing. Your previous attempts in dating haven't worked, leading to frustration. Arguing might be an expression of this underlying frustration. I mean, it could be, one of the things I talk about a lot here is, guys, they attach so much value. Like, for instance, they meet a girl at work, or, the girl at the where he gets his coffee or whatever, and like she's the one girl in his mind, and so he builds it all up, that he's got to go talk to this girl or something, or interact with her in some way, and so he just keeps building it up and building it up, and you know that kind of distorts the uh, the event, right? You're not going into it like you're kind of off balance, and so if that leads to a bad outcome, or less than what you had hoped for, then you can get frustrated. And then you can think to yourself, oh, wow, well, because I had this one whole situation, now every situation is going to be crappy. And that's just not the case. Another thing is that, you might not have tried anything yet. It's funny how many guys are like internet experts on everything, and then, ask them about like practical application. And it's like, we've tried nothing and we're all out of ideas. It's like, well, you haven't even given it a shot. You don't even know what works or what doesn't work. You just, yeah, so don't do that, right? Okay. And the next one is the frustration at lack of success. You're currently not getting the results you want, causing pain and frustration. This frustration can manifest as anger and resistance to outside ideas. I mean, I get it, you know. Like I said, I spent a big chunk of my life, the first part of my life, with my head all wrapped in knots, and I had a lot of success at things that I was trying to do, but I also had a lot of situations where things didn't go well, and so sometimes, I'd kind of beat myself up, or I'd, kind of be perfectionist about it. Things didn't just go just so, and that didn't help me at all, right? I mean, it actually held me back. It was like demotivational. And we'll talk about demotivational again. I, believe that. Anyway, yeah. And also the idea is that if you're having trouble with things, it sucks when, like if you go to somebody and you're like, I'm having this issue. And then they're like, well, you should do this. And it's like, oh, whatever, I wasn't asking necessarily uh, for your input or for notes. I was just hoping for some moral support. And that's what we do here also at the Easy Path Project, moral support. We hold our brothers up, right? I mean, we're all trying to get to the same place. And, if we all get there together, we can have a big party. Okay, pushback as a defensive response. You may perceive advice, even well intentioned, as an attack on your current approach, intelligence, or efforts, leading you to feel offended and react with resistance. This is kind of funny because, like, if you've ever seen that movie, Idiocracy, it shows the difference, the contrast between an intelligent couple who are like, putting off kids and making all these responsible plans or whatever, versus the you know kind of the stereotypical low class people or whatever. They're just bouncing off each other and making babies and babies and babies, and and it goes nuts. And it's kind of that same way. It's like, you know guys that aren't really in their heads, kind of like jocks or whatever, like, they can get girls without having to sit there and and think about it. But guys that are like, I call them the smart boys, sometimes as a joke, sometimes as a descriptor. But if you're in your head and you're thinking about things, uh, you know, you, they're your things, right? Like you've grown attached to them. Thinking about anything, any of your ideas or whatever, that it's just a tool, and the fact that I am offering this as sort of dating advice or whatever, you know, it is well intentioned, and I'm not saying that, that you suck because what you've tried so far hasn't worked out. I'm not saying you're stupid. I'm not saying you're lazy, although in the last slide I did, because a lot of people like to talk and not, all talk and no action, right? Anyway, but yeah, so do not feel offended. You know, don't push back. Like, we're all here to get ahead, and I'm on your side. Okay, push back to show standards, self respect. Pushing back can be a way for you to show you have standards or a level of self respect as opposed to admitting you might not be correct in this instance. Well, I've got a couple of slides that are sort of similar, looking at things from, different angles here. And this is, a defensive mechanism, um, which in a sense is good, right? I mean, I'm not criticizing that at all. I'm just saying it might be misguided, right? I mean, it's like, if you are having issues, um, that means that the things you are not, or excuse me, the things that you're trying aren't working, right? And so instead of like kind of holding on to that too tightly, like it's something that you need to drop, that if you just kind of admit that, okay, I could have been wrong, I'm not omniscient, I don't know everything, I'm not perfect, and get on down the road, right? I mean, we are all exactly the same. Nobody's better than anybody else here, or nobody has to fight back or push back because they think that somebody's, you know, calling them names or whatever. Like I said, we're here to help each other. Okay, deep-seated insecurity or low self-worth. Many men, especially those struggling, are secretly insecure. Low self-worth is linked to a higher need for approval, but it can also manifest as defensiveness. If you're not getting the love or the respect or the admiration or the attention or any of those things, that can suck. I've heard uh the quote or the idea bandied about or whatever, that guys very rarely get compliments, that the guy could go weeks or months or years even without getting a compliment. And that sucks when somebody doesn't really like appreciate you. But don't allow that to make you have to like kind of reach out for somebody to give you um what it is you're looking for. I mean, first of all, be self-contained, right? Like, if it sucks, like just deal it, right? But also, don't allow it to cause you to push back. Like, you don't have to be defensive. Like I said, we're not here to, uh, you know, to punish each other for our, perceived insecurities or whatever. Like, we're here to move forward. Belief that arguing is a sign of strength. You might believe that being aggressive, fighting back, or arguing demonstrates strength or dominance, which you may feel you lack in dating. Power you might power you might think comes from force rather than stillness. This is something that took me a while to figure out. I remember, early in my work career, I took a test, one of those Myers-Briggs tests or whatever, and it kind of pegged me for really what I was, and I wasn't really, like I said, I was like a bull raging forward, right? Everything was about me, and And so like any time that like somebody questioned me or whatever, like that was an opportunity to fight for myself, or to assert myself even more. And I found at one point, basically, the answer to my problems that I was having at that moment was just to sit still and do nothing. And that allowed me to, some of the pressure and some of the things that I'd been putting on myself, I was able to sort of loosen, because I wasn't really pushing forward trying to do more stuff or to make more people to do more things I wanted or whatever. It was more of a pulling back and letting things sort of move more naturally and more settled and whatever. And once I found that the application of stillness, of pulling back and sort of letting things happen, not being so aggressive, that was really like, that was my very first like light bulb moment where like I really started to understand what I was thinking about or what I was wanting, right? I mean, I thought that, what I wanted came as a result of me being bullheaded and forcing everybody, and it wasn't really the case. Fixed ideas or faulty maps. You may have rigid beliefs or faulty maps about how dating works or why you're unsuccessful. These are problematic because they do not get you the results you want. I mean, that's kind of funny, right? I mean, and we do this all the time. I listened to a girl talk on the other day on a podcast. Like, she was talking about having spoken to her therapist about stuff and how she was arguing her points to the therapist. And it sounded like the therapist was, kind of on the right track. And this woman was just like, justifying all the stupid crap that she was trying to get fixed. And I don't know how much it costs to hire a therapist or whatever. Maybe, uh, it's cheap enough that you can go in and get absolutely nothing out of it. But the idea that she felt that she needed to spend that kind of time, you know, arguing her beliefs, and she got zero out of it, right? Um, like I said, this lady, I actually just stopped listening to her podcast. I mean, she still has a long way to go before she has her, her epiphany, like when she finally figures out what's causing the problems. Oh well, like I said, I wish her luck. She seems like a sweet lady, but if I'm any indication, just about any reasonable man would be out the door, toot sweet. Yeah, so don't fight for stuff that if you're getting crappy results, and then I come along and give you some ideas, you don't sit there and fight for your crappy results ideas. Like, you're not going to benefit, and I'm not going to listen. Like I said, I've already gotten my success as much as I could at the time, and I'm still feeling pretty groovy about how things are going. So, there's that, right? Okay. Rationalizing past failures and current beliefs. Your conscious mind is built to justify ongoing behavior or existing beliefs. Doing helps you rationalize why your current approach or beliefs are right or justified, despite the lack of results. Well, that's what I just said. Like I said, some of these kind of come at the ideas from different angles. But I know this one woman, and she's funny. Um, like, she will just decide to argue about anything. Like the old joke on Monty Python they did, where they go in and the guy wants an argument, and so they have like a professional argument or something. Well, this lady is like a professional arguer, like, and it could be just the most ridiculous thing, but she'll sit there and she'll fight you on stuff that is like ridiculous. And it's got to be something inside her mind that's you know that she's rationalizing like herself being right because she's like she thinks she is or whatever, or she's got her mind wrapped around this idea. That doesn't mean it's true, right? I mean, yeah, like I said, just don't do that. Like if you're getting bad results, then you're getting bad input. So stop putting in bad input, right? Step back, evaluate what's been causing the problems, fix what's been causing the problems, and then move forward. It'll get a lot easier once you stop carrying around crap that's not doing you any good and fighting to keep that stuff. Good golly. I mean, you see how that's like a ridiculous position to hold? Okay, perceiving advice as control or manipulation. If you detect any perceived intent to persuade or influence you, especially for your benefit, even if your benefit is just helping you, your guard goes up and you may resist. Okay, I actually touched on this a bit ago. Um, I've got like 18 other live streams, like almost 20 hours worth of content here. So you can go back and watch the live streams and see exactly what I'm talking about. But I'm going to read this off this list. And I want you to sit here and listen to exactly what I'm talking about. And you see, A, if I'm trying to manipulate you, or also B, like how you can make the argument that I'm misleading you somehow, right? Or that I'm trying to trick you. Okay. Belief in self-worth. Okay. I'm saying that you should have a higher belief in your self-worth, uh, consider yourself valuable, consider yourself to, have something good to bring to, a relationship or to your friends or your family or your girl or whatever. Positive self-image. Well, how is that bad, right? Think of yourself as a winner or even neutral. A lot of guys beat themselves up over stuff. It's like, don't do that. Drop the negative self-talk. Um, get rid of the pessimism and the skepticism and everything, and just think, hey, I'm a good guy. I'm trying my best, and I'm a smart guy, right? So I'm probably gonna experience good results if I approach things properly and with hopeful expectations or whatever. Okay. True self-expression. Express yourself. You know, figure out who you are and what matters to you. Establish your values and express yourself. Present yourself to the world as a guy like that. That is that guy that has those values. Point out the control and the manipulation in that idea. Lifelong learning. Don't just figure you read a book or something in high school and you're done or whatever. Especially, like I said, a lot of guys, especially MGTOW guys, and they're the kind of guys that might get all bent out of shape when I talk about this. But just like in lots of relationships, there's not just men, it's men and women. But it's like you think the hard part is getting the girl or whatever, getting married or whatever, and then like you can just rest on your laurels. It's like, no. It's like it's twice as much work now because you've got a whole bunch of different responsibilities you have to deal with in the relationship just to maintain it. And if you think you can just sit back or whatever, you're going to find yourself paying child support or paying alimony payments or whatever, because you tried to um, take it easy. And the idea is always be learning. Learning about yourself, learning about your partner, learning about how to interact with others, how to communicate better, how to make people feel better. Like I said, I don't mean to be manipulative here or whatever, but I find that one of my best tools in my toolkit is that I'm sort of entertaining in a way to women, right? Like they enjoy being with me, and like if I make them feel good when we're out, uh, I could be manipulating them, right? Like tricking them into thinking they're having a good time or whatever. But that's the kind of stuff you need to figure out. Like you need to continue growing your mind, expanding the possibilities, being more creative, trying to figure out how you can live a better life. Like I said, explain to me how that could be a bad thing. Okay. Improved coping skills or resiliency. Okay. Well, sometimes things are going to go bad. Um, how do you deal with it? Are you going to let it beat you down? Are you going to be all butthurt? Are you going to cry in a corner? You're going to say, oh, well, because I screwed up this last time, I'm just never ever going to get with a girl ever again. I'm just going to take my ball and go home. That's ridiculous, right? I mean, the idea here is you improve your coping skills, you improve your resiliency, so it makes you a stronger man so that you can go through life, um, take the hits that are invariably are going to come and then stand up and keep moving, right? It's not how many times they knock you down, it's how many times you get up, right? I mean, maybe today's kids or whatever are a little bit softer than like old people kids or whatever, but like, you know, when you fell down as a little kid in my world, your mom rubbed dirt on your knee or whatever on the cut and said, "Get back out there." Like there was no coddling and no, "Oh, poor baby." No, you just dealt with it and you got on with it. I mean, in one way that that it might not have been the best way, but I mean, it made it made us more resilient. Like we dealt with whatever it was and we got on with it. How is that bad? EQ emotional intelligence. There's like about 7 or 8 different components on this. One of the ones that I did the other day was on empathy. You know, understanding where another person's coming from, understanding what makes them feel good, what makes them feel bad. You know, how you can help them through situations that they need help through. Um, Forgiveness. I believe that's a component of emotional intelligence. A lot of people are really angry at people from their family or their past or whatever. You know, learn how to forgive people. Don't hold it against them anymore. Like I said, I joke about those guys. Good golly, it would have been 13 years ago or whatever that they called me a white knight. And I'm still all bristly about that. But I bet you not even one dude who called me a white knight remembers that situation. So I'm hanging on to it, right? I just need to forgive myself or forgive them for, pushing that button and getting on down the road, right? I mean, I can learn this stuff too. I don't think that I'm trying to be all perfect here. Like, in fact, that's the thing. Once you guys have assembled. Once we get a crowd here, I'm going to start bouncing some stuff off you, and hopefully you'll be able to help me some fix and sort out some stuff that I'm having some issues with. I'm going to crowdsource uh, the solution through my live stream. You heard it here. That's my secret, right? Okay, flexibility. Okay, well, a lot of guys, get it in their mind like, the one-itis. I'm going to get that one girl, or I'm going to do this one thing, or whatever. And it's like, well, maybe. I mean, hopefully, if that's what you really want, I hope that works out for you. But what if it doesn't? Like, what if something goes wrong, or what if something changes, or whatever? Well, be more flexible, right? I mean, learn how to deal with situations, be more creative with how you deal with these situations so you don't have to get all bent out of shape. Like deal with it and you know kind of adapt and move on. Moral courage. Moral courage is standing up for what you believe in, And even if there's the possibility that it could be bad for you in some way, right? It's standing up for what you believe in, regardless of how it might affect you. How is that bad? Okay. Optimism. Um, I don't say to you that, you got to, it's going to be just absolutely perfect. Although, if you listen to my subjective reality live stream the other night when I was talking about, you know, kind of telling the universe what it is that you want and sort of living a life through a simulation, like where you're that cool avatar or whatever. Um, in that sense, I'm saying, yeah, plan that out to be the best you could possibly be. But the bottom line is that, just give up the whole, negative, pessimistic, skeptical idea that things aren't going to work out for you. Just flip that, not to that, oh, I think everything is going to work out great. Just be open to the possibility that something could happen good, right? Like, just be open, just be neutral. I'm not asking you to, look at everything through rose-colored glasses. I'm just saying be open to the possibility that that good things can happen. So that's my list. Like I said, so if we go back to this slide here, if you detect any perceived intent to persuade or influence you, especially for your benefit, even if your benefit is just helping you, your guard goes up and you may resist. Okay, well, I just covered like what I'm about. Um, I'm totally transparent. I want to help you guys get better. I want a whole bunch of guys that are good at this kind of stuff, right? I want to grow uh, my little posse of guys that I like to bounce ideas off of, and then the ideas that I bounce off of you, I'm going to bring back into my own life, and evaluate where I am and see how I can apply what you've taught me. I mean, okay, now you know exactly where I'm coming from. Okay. Suspicion towards the source. You may harbor general suspicion towards authority figures or anyone offering unsolicited advice, seeing them as potentially having ulterior motives or not having your best interests at heart. I just covered that. Um, now I understand. I mean, literally, like, I don't believe anything that the official source has said since like the Enlightenment, right? I'm talking about 400 or 500 years of lies, right? In my opinion. And so, I'm the most suspicious guy that when it comes to like, the official story. But, I just laid out everything that I talk about here and where I'm coming from and how you should approach things. So, you shouldn't have any questions. I don't have any ulterior motives. Um, if I did, I'd probably tell you. And, and see how you deal with it anyway, right? That's one of the things. Uh, at a certain point, you don't have to be sneaky or whatever. You can tell people how things are going to be, and then that's how they're going to be. Um, I'm a slightly different cat than my audience. I'm trying to uh, show you guys there's something outside of like your reality, right? There's this other reality, and it can be really, really cool. And I want you to join in. I think I heard a audio book by or it was called "The Science of Getting Rich" by Wallace Wattles, and his premise was that he didn't say God, but that was kind of sort of the idea. It was like, God wants you to have like a awesome life. And so like, the more that you prepare yourself for this awesome life, then the more stuff that you're going to get so that you can lead this awesome life. And it just kind of builds on itself. And then, like I said, it's not necessarily religious. He doesn't say anything religious at all in the book, but you know, that's kind of the idea. That's the way you would understand it. You could also think of it as the universe. That's the way I explained things the other night in the subjective reality video that we talked about. That, you know, if you go to the end of a video game, every single step along the way, even though it can be hard, it's not going to be impossible, right? And there is like that one little teeny tiny like window that you can get through, and then you're suddenly the champion of the game. And so, you know, uh, if you're thinking about this as a universe and a simulation, uh, that the possibility that all the good stuff is available to you. It's just you got to figure out how to get it, and so that's what we're working on. Um, take that for what it's worth. Okay, yeah. Anyway, so that gives us a good little pause here. What do you think? I mean, do you see any of these things, being in yourself? Like, are you kind of pushing back maybe because of some of these things I've said? I recognized a couple of them, from my past, but I've overcome them, thank goodness, right? Like I said, I've still got other stuff to overcome. Like it's not perfect yet, but it's getting better. And I think that that's what you'll find is like once you kind of drop some of that stuff, let go of it, it'll be a lot easier for you to move forward. Anyway, so yeah, in the event that you know, like I said, we've got some lurkers tonight who aren't gonna say hi apparently, but there's still time. Anyway, but so if you want to say hi tonight, please say hi. If you want to catch this live stream on the live stream playlist, leave a comment. Let me know what you're thinking. Let me know, what it is that's been holding you back, and what we can do to move you forward. Like I said, that's the idea here is move forward. Like, you know, y- if you feel kind of stuck, or if you feel like you've kind of been in a place that wasn't really best for you or whatever, let's help you get to where you feel great. Also, if you know anybody that wants to hear a message or needs to hear a message like this, you know please share the link to the video, let them know what we're talking about, and invite him or them along, and now let's do this thing, right? Okay, so let's move to the back end of the list. Okay. Need to feel like an independent thinker or expert. You may pride yourself on being an independent thinker, or you feel that you're already knowledgeable, particularly if you identify as an analytical type. Like I said, there's a bunch of smart boys, right, that tend to be looking um, for dating advice. So that could be you. Advice might be perceived as an attempt to strip you of this perceived status, leading you to defend your own expertise. Well, I mean, evaluate your expertise in the light of that. A, you're not getting the results you want, and B, you're watching a video about some guy telling you how to get the results you want. Be honest with yourself. It's like you aren't born knowing everything. If anything, you've picked up crap along the way that's kept like the real you from enjoying the real life that you should have, that the real life that's waiting for you, the one that's fulfilling, and the kind of thing that you can be enthusiastic about, and wake up every morning looking forward to what life is going to bring you. Like, that is an option. And don't feel that you have to hang on to this stuff that you've learned in the past that's not helping you, like, because it's not. And so if you were really literally a smart boy, then you would understand that the things that are holding you back need to be thrown aside, like with prejudice, and then move on, and then you'll be a smart boy, right? Okay. Anger from sexual frustration or unmet needs. A significant source of anger for men is sexual frustration or not having your needs met. This underlying anger can fuel your resistance and arguments about, or excuse me, in discussions about dating. Uh, yes, you hear all the time about incels and all the different guys that are just totally, you know, wrapped up in knots internally or whatever because of not being able to get a relationship or whatever. And I mean, there are a lot of problems, but people have been pairing up and making babies and all that stuff for as long as there's been people. And so, um, just because it hasn't been happening for you, uh, that does not mean that it won't happen for you. And so, let go of that crap that's causing you to feel bad. I mean, you don't have to hang on to it. You know, a lot of times, uh, that frustration and stuff that's building up, it's like you're doing something to like kind of foster it, like you're building a little home for it and you're nurturing it. Y- if it's not doing you any favors, you need to get rid of it. And you know, this having a backed up willy or whatever, it can suck. Um, but yeah, I mean, let's just fix it. Let's get you a girl. Let's get you a relationship. Let's get you some relief. Okay. Argumentation as a defensive mechanism. Arguing can be used to avoid confronting uncomfortable truths about yourself, your fears, like fear of rejection or fear of women or your vulnerability. That was one of the things we talked about last night with Jack. And he was saying, well, I can't be vulnerable because a woman will think I was a puss. And it's like, well, kind of. I mean, like, if you get all weepy or if you know, are kind of weak, like that might be a problem or whatever. But I mean, a woman, uh, just like you're supposed to recognize that she's a human, that she's got to recognize that you're a human and that, that you're not confident about everything all the time, uh, you might have built women up in your head as something that you've got to be afraid of or rejection, you know, it's really simple. Like the idea that you can deal with rejection by just accepting it as feedback from the universe or whatever, that whatever you're trying isn't working. It's not personal. I the other night, my very first white night Wednesday, I gave you 20 reasons why a girl who might totally be into you might still decide not to get with you. And it's like it doesn't necessarily have anything to do with you. And like I said about balance earlier, and often through my live streams, like there's no need to fear women. It's like the only way that like a woman can hurt you or whatever is like if you overextend yourself. Like think about, relationships are 50-50. And so, if you're inside that 50-ish range, you're kind of balanced and so you can deal with stuff. And so, if a woman uh um accepts your advances or whatever, that's great. Or if a woman shoots you down, that's great, right? Like in the first, like it's you were successful. In the second, you got feedback. It's like you just evaluate what you learned and move to the next opportunity to get with a girl or whatever. And the last time didn't mean anything except as feedback for you to learn from. And so you don't have to be afraid of these things. You don't have to be afraid of being vulnerable. Like I said, um, think about like on a 1 to 10 scale or whatever. Like, you know, if you're early in a relationship or whatever, you kind of still want to, you know, give kind of a false front or whatever. I mean, I don't know how to explain this. I'll have to learn how to wrap my mouth around this idea. But it's like, if you've got a situation you're dealing with or whatever, calibrate it down to like where you're talking about like a 1 or a 2 or maybe a 3 on a 10-point scale or something. you know? It's like, yes, this thing happened, but I am dealing with it. It sucked, but it was an opportunity for me to move forward, and therefore it's not that big a deal anymore, right? Don't get all bent out of shape or weepy or, confessional or whatever, because chicks don't like that, right? I mean, they still expect a man to be strong. So a man can admit, like, I don't feel comfortable about this, or I felt sad about that, or whatever. But, what she's expecting is that you pick yourself up and uh, present yourself as a man, I mean, and like if you give in to the soft weepy thing, like you're acting more like a girl. And if you've ever heard a girl talk about the ick, that's what she's talking about, among other things. Okay, perceiving advice as an attack on identity or values. Your beliefs about dating or yourself may be deeply intertwined with your identity. Challenging these beliefs, even indirectly, can feel like a fundamental attack on who you are or what you value. Okay, well, like we discussed a moment ago, it's like, yeah, you might have these beliefs, right? You might have even like internalized them to like, so these beliefs, uh, in a sense, are who you are. Well, it's like, how are they working out for you? You know, if they're working out well, then you hang on to that stuff and you even expand it. But, if they're not working for you, then why would you want to hang on to them? Why would you want to defend yourself and defend them? And why would you take it as an affront if somebody pointed out, friendly, like in a kind way, that, those things aren't helping you? Um, why are you hanging on to that stuff? It's probably a better idea to just let it go, right? Grab onto something better. Habitual resistance or negativity. You might have a general pattern of resistance, negativity, or arguing when faced with differing opinions or suggestions for change, regardless of the topic. I mentioned that a moment ago about that woman. Like, she'll sometimes argue like ridiculous points, like that everybody in the conversation will recognize as being ridiculous, and but they'll kind of like humor her, right? Like they won't call her out for being a knothead or for being argumentative or stubborn or bullheaded or whatever. Um, that might just be like who you are or whatever. Well, if when you start listing attractive characteristics, negativity or a general pattern of resistance or arguing, uh, those are not attractive characteristics. And so, get rid of those. Like, just do yourself a favor. You don't have to always be the smart boy. You don't always have to be right. You know, you don't always have to share your opinion. Sometimes you can pull back and be quiet, or you can actually think to yourself, oh, hey, well, maybe this other person has a better way of seeing things, and maybe I can improve my life by evaluating what they just said and then applying it to my life. Okay, seeking to undermine my credibility. By arguing or pointing out perceived flaws in my advice, you may subconsciously or consciously attempt to lower my prestige or credibility, making yourself feel more knowledgeable or superior in comparison. This one's kind of funny. Um, like I said, I've had people, who try to poke holes in the things that I say, and I've also had men pull money out of their pocket and give it to me for helping them, right? So on one hand, like these guys who know basically nothing, and so their opinion means nothing, or the guys who actually like have taken my advice, value in it, and they applied it, and then they write me back and tell me, hey, I found a girl that, I'm getting married or whatever. Um, or even other situations, like for instance, if this one fellow really had led a very barren life until he was in his mid-50s or so, and I taught him how to uh, kind of free up his mind so that he could get into situations more rapidly, and it worked out for him really well. And like when I got the feedback from that, uh, that was really made me feel kind of funny uh, because it was so out of character for him, but he was so pleased that like he was able to do it. So like I've seen guys, you know, with ear to ear smiles, applying my uh, my ideas or whatever. So, I'm pretty solid, pretty firm in my understanding of what I'm talking about here. And like I said, you know, when we went over the 9 pillars of inner game earlier, I explained all the different ways that what I'm talking about here is rock solid. So it's pretty unlikely that you're going to be able to AMOG me. That's probably not going to happen. And that's pretty embarrassing if you try to AMOG a dude and that a guy you know puts you in a headlock or whatever. And that's kind of funny. This is taking a dark turn, but the idea is that there is no AMOGing here. Uh, yeah, it's just not going to happen. Like I said, I'm trying to help you guys, and you need to listen. Like, yeah, okay. And then protecting you from potential disappointment. Trying new advice involves risk. If you've experienced repeated failure, you might argue against new suggestions to avoid the possibility of trying again and failing, thus protecting yourself from further disappointment and pain. I mean, that makes sense. But I mean, think about it. Like, I remember hearing Anthony Robbins talk about this a long time ago on one of his very first personal development tapes. I don't recall which one, but he was talking about when did you give up trying to learn how to walk? It's like, okay, well, when you were probably first learning to walk, you maybe crawled and scraped your knees, or maybe you actually fell over and you hit your head or whatever. And it's like, when did you finally just get tired of failing, and so you just quit trying to walk, and so like you just gave up? Well, the idea is that you didn't, right? Because that would be ridiculous. You dealt with whatever it was that you had to deal with so that you could become proficient at walking, and then you walked. It's the same thing here. It's like, a lot of the problems that you've had, I imagine, with girls is because you maybe gave it one or two half-ass shots, or maybe, you didn't even give a half-ass shot. You just, maybe built it up too much, and then, you know, if it didn't go how you wanted, and then you sort of beat yourself up for it, and maybe get kind of negative, stinking thinking, like Zig Ziglar says. You have some kind of pessimistic outlook that is not helpful, right? And so the idea here is, we're talking about growth. We're talking about like moving forward. We're talking about becoming the man that you want to be. And it's like, part of that is, you know, having self-confidence, right? Believing in yourself, thinking that you can do it, knowing you can do it. And then, having the personal strength to hold yourself to that. And like I said, with this being the Easy Path project, the idea is not to find hard ways. We're not going to grind. We're going to find super simple ways for you to deal with things. And a lot of them are just dropping stuff that isn't useful to you anymore, or maybe never was. So, don't make up reasons why you can't do it. You know, get rid of the things that are holding you back and open your mind to the possibility that things, at least, if you're just neutral, that they could go well. You know, you don't have to protect yourself. Like you're not really going to get hurt, not with what we're talking about here. Anyways, solidifying your current position, engaging in argument can strengthen your commitment to your existing, even unsuccessful viewpoint. The more you defend it, the more entrenched you become. Well, like I said, it's kind of natural for people to defend themselves. If you've got an idea, even if that idea is kind of crap, but it's, you identify with it like it's part of you or whatever. It's like, so the more you fight for that, the more it is part of you. And it just kind of becomes self-reinforcing in a sort of a bad way. The idea is more to just be able to pull back, kind of, evaluate, kind of take a look at where things are, what's real and what's fake, and what's possible, what's impossible, those kind of things, and then allow yourself to move forward into these new ideas. Just try them for a little while. Like I said, none of this stuff is going to hurt you. If you have a positive self-image, that's not going to ruin your day or whatever, or your life. If you're optimistic, or if you stand up for what you believe in, it's pretty unlikely that there's going to be any bad results. So, just let go of the idea that things are going to go badly, or that you have to fight for whatever it is that you believe, because otherwise you wouldn't be. Yeah, that's something else I also need to dig into mentally. Like I said, a lot of this stuff that I talk about, I'm trying to definitely look at it from the outside. And that's why I'm hoping that you guys will start chit-chatting in these live streams and in the comments, so that I don't have to sit here and try to guess what you're thinking. I'd much rather hear you say it. Okay, lack of trust in the source. Even if I am successful, you may not fully trust me. This could be due to perceived bias, a sense of lack of genuine care, or me coming across as condescending. Trust is crucial for persuasion. Like I said, I'm kind of a cocky guy, right? Uh, David D'Angelo he was one of the earliest pickup artist guys I ever remember hearing about, and he used to have a phrase about cocky and funny, and to get a girl, you need to be cocky and funny. And I was like, well, that's great, because I'm cocky and funny. Yeah, so if I'm coming across as like I'm talking down to you, or that I don't care or whatever, that's not true. First of all, I'm sitting here spending an hour a night trying to uh, help you get your head wrapped around this great life that you can have. And all I'm asking is you just let go of shit that's holding you back, and embrace the possibility that something really awesome could be waiting for you. Um, you know, I don't know how much more sincere I could be about that. Okay, projecting limitations or negativity. You might project your own limitations, fears, or negative outlook onto the advice of the advisor, dismissing it as unrealistic or impossible based on your own internal maps. Well, we discussed this early on, but you got to get back kind of the root causes of your problem. And I've discussed this, and I really need to pull out a slideshow about hypnotism, especially as a child. Like when you're born and through your formative years, your brain is really susceptible to grabbing and holding on to messages, right? And you need to learn everything, and you need to learn it really pretty fast, right? Or you could get hurt or die. It's a survival mechanism. Unfortunately, the problem is that people that are raising us, our parents, for instance, are barely just out of childhood, or they're young adults. They're not their parents were probably young adults or children or, whatever. Like the idea that, that some like wisdom or whatever of being a parent has been applied to raising the child. Um, that's ridiculous, right? They're learning as they're going along. They're having to deal with all their stuff and try to raise you too. And if they don't, give you the right lessons, or they don't spend the time uh, treating you the way that you might want to be treated or whatever, like you can allow all this crap to build up. And so, by the time you get to be 18 or 21 or whatever, like it's easy to get screwed up, right? Like you just had a whole bunch of screwed up stuff you had to deal with. And, how do you figure out what's right and what's wrong? And so, so let's just assume that wherever you are right now, that and especially like I said, if you're watching this live stream, it's because you haven't had the results you want. And the reason is because probably a lot of the stuff you picked up along the way is holding you back. I mean, this is a scarcity mindset. But the Easy Path Project, we promote a growth mindset. We promote a abundant mindset, right? And so you don't have to be afraid. You don't have to fight for this mistaken information that that you're referring to or whatever. It's like, no, be open to the possibility that some really awesome stuff is waiting for you. Yeah, and just seeing limitations here, I recall hearing that in a talk earlier today. It's like limiting beliefs. Like you're talking yourself out of the possibility of stuff a lot of times, and that is not helping you in any way. Anyway, so yeah, are you getting any value from these videos or these live streams? If so, please leave a like. Definitely leave a comment. Like I said, last night, talking to that gentleman was fun. Uh, Hopefully he got something out of it. But I definitely did. I got the idea for this show tonight, and also, kind of give me some insight into why some people might be resistant to the message that I'm offering. Anyway, feel free to leave a comment, or um, let me know what you're thinking. Let me know what you're getting out of this, if anything. And if you like the live streams, and you like what I'm talking about here at the Easy Path Project, and these little lesson things that I'm doing, or um, subscribe to the channel, and also turn on the notifications so that YouTube will send you a notification when I go live, which we'll wrap up here, and then we'll discuss that one more time. So the bottom line tonight is that quit holding on to your outdated ideas that undermine your efforts and keep you stuck in a scarcity mindset. Um, you know, I'm I mean, like, think about me like as the emissary from the universe. Like I first heard that from Steve Pavlina when he was talking about subjective reality. Like, you know, consider me the emissary from the universe, and I'm here to tell you that those ideas that you've been carrying around for your whole life or whatever, they're holding you back, and they're keeping you in this scarcity mindset. You know, the girl that you want, like the one that you're your dream girl, like she's out there. It's just that you've got to kind of, sand off all your rough edges, get rid of all the crap that's keeping you from being the perfect you. And then once you feel better about yourself and you start moving through the world as this not improved, but I would say, yes, improved version of yourself, then suddenly opportunities are going to start to offer themselves up to girls like that. You're going to actually attract her. Um, that's an abundance mindset. That's a growth mindset. And that's the drug I'm pushing here. Anyway, yeah. So, uh, it's going to get good. Like I said, if you've had to go through some crap so far, like, there is a silver lining to this gray cloud. Just stick with me. Anyway, so like I mentioned, this is a live stream, and we do the live streams Monday through Friday around 7:30 p.m. Central. And if you aren't able to make the live streams live, definitely watch the replays and the live stream playlist. I've got links in the description and also in, I believe, a pinned comment. And you can also find the playlist on the main channel page. With that said, thank you for hanging out tonight. I hope you learned something. We'll be back tomorrow night. And until that time, take it easy.